guys, it's Sam, and this is my spoilery discussion of Assassin's Apprentice by Robin Hobb. As I said, this video will have spoilers in it, so if you haven't read this book, go ahead and check out my spoiler-free review, which will be linked on the screen. So this is more of a discussion and not a gush or gripe, because I don't feel positively or negatively really about this book. Like, there were problems that I had with it, but it was still like a well-written book, and I want to do discussions on this because I know this is a very beloved series, and people will discuss with me as I read through this entire backlog of her books. But that's my main motivation for doing a discussion on this, not because I feel super strong emotions, but just because there is content to discuss. Fitz's life sucks. Like, this book was exhausting because I'm exhausted as a person, like, while reading this. You know, I have a very busy life right now. I've bitched about it numerous times on my channel, so I don't need to go into it anymore. But I'm busy, so when I sit down to read, I'm like, I want a little bit of an escape, and then it's like, bad things just keep happening to Fitz, like, multiple animal deaths, which I am still just like, do we have to really do this? Like, I don't like this, and just bad things, and him, you know, his mind being clouded because he can't, you know, being told that he can't do the skill, and being called a bastard all the time. Like, this is worse than Jon Snow, who gets called, like, Ned Stark's bastard everywhere he goes, and the same thing with him. Like, it's just, it's shitty, and I feel bad for him, frankly. So everything that happened, I was like, it's gonna get better, right? Because in most books, like, things would start to get better. You know, the character goes through the hard thing, and then they come out stronger, and blah, blah. And bad things continue to happen to Fitz over and over and over again. And you're like, this poor kid's like 8, give him a break. And no, I'm not done. Why so many dead dogs? Okay, like, I didn't expect that going into it. I love the wit as, like, a magic, and I think that's going to get, like, more fully fleshed out, obviously, in the future and stuff. And it's obviously not as bad as, like, his caretakers make him believe. And there's, like, a prejudice against it, whatever, but, like, why so many dead animals? Like, no, like, I actually had to share with Gerald as I was reading because I was, like, so upset about the dogs dying, and he was like, why did you tell me that? And I was like, because I'm upset and I can't tell people, and it was bad. So, first you think that his, like, puppy dies at the beginning, but obviously that didn't happen. It didn't get killed, but you think that it does. And then his other dog that he gets later, that you are finally like, okay, it's gonna be fine. Like, this is the second dog and it'll be fine. And then that dog dies, like, defending him and defending his, like, guardian. And he, like, waits, like, long enough, and then his, like, tail wags, and he... Rude. And then after that, when he finds out that, I think Nosy was the name of the dog from before, was alive, he sees him for a little bit. They rebond after Nosy's owner gets assassinated. And then when Fitz is dying, Nosy the old dog pulls him out by his hand to save him from drowning. Why so many dog deaths, though? Like, I know I did not sign up for this. I'm not okay. And if these books continue to kill the characters, the dog characters, or the animal companions that he forms bonds with, I can't do that. So let's hope that doesn't continue to happen, because I can't, and I refuse. Please give him a little animal companion that lasts, like, multiple books, please. So, beyond Fitz's life sucking and lots of animal deaths, there was also a lot of meandering in this book. I talked about this more in my spoiler-free review, but, like, man, does Robin Hobb take a long time to get to things. And I know she has a beautiful writing style, and it's a character-driven story, blah, 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 but, like, in the first book, I'm not that connected to the characters right now. Like, I started getting connected to them towards the end, and I actually have, like, favorites that have formed now. But for most of it was like, I'm not that connected. Why are we meandering? Why are we stopping and starting and stopping and starting? And just the fact that, like, so many things were so tropey and just predictable, that made me a little mad. So, like, Regal was obviously going to be the bad guy from the beginning, like, the snotty, pretentious, like, third-in-line kind of character. Like, and Galen obviously was going to be a douche, too, from the beginning. And the thing about them that I don't quite understand right now is they're well-liked within the world, kind of. Like, there's certain people that don't like them, but generally speaking, like, Regal and Galen were both seen as, like, very influential, and people liked them, blah, blah. And I know that everyone knows them, but, like, if they're that douchey, why do people like them? And if they're that, like, pretentious, people shouldn't like them. And it was just there's a little bit of a disconnect there. And they were also a little bit mustache twirling for me. They just didn't feel like fully fleshed out characters. Why are they so hateful? And I know that, like, everybody views Fitz as, like, a nothing, so he's disposable and whatever, but, like, I just felt like they could have been more clever, and I would have liked that a lot more. And like, there's a lot of things that were predictable, like Galen kind of clouding his mind, so he couldn't use a skill. Like, why did it take so long for him to figure that out? And it wasn't even him, it was Verity helping him with that. Like, I know he's a kid, but like, yeah. So I don't feel like the villains were particularly fleshed out. I feel like if Shrewd ends up being like an actual antagonist type villain, which I kind of feel like he is at times, that's a little better, but the other ones are just like, these aren't very good villains right now. They're okay, but like nothing really groundbreaking by any means. So as far as characters I did like, I really started to love Verity at the end. Like I thought he was gonna die actually. Like I was really like, Verity's gone, it's gonna be bad. But you really started to form like a bond with him, and that he really was like, he was distant from Fitz, but they actually have a greater bond than you would think that they would have, and he, I think, is going to continue to be a really important character within Fitz's life. I also adore the Fool. Again, is because there's a trilogy later on that I know is called Fitz and the Fool. Maybe, you know, like, we'll see, but I already kind of like him, and the little snippets we know about him, I think he's going to be a really interesting character. Patience is also a great character. I mentioned in my review that there's not a ton of female characters, but Patience is a really good character. She's flawed. She has her issues. She's very eccentric, and I like her. And I liked the scene when she was like, "You should have been mine," and she like goes to try to hug him, and just like, like very sad. And just even having his dad as a character kind of looming over them, even though you never get to meet him, he never got to meet him. Like that's a very cool thing that I always like when that happens throughout series. Is like this character who's outside of the series kind of, but is still very much impacting events and stuff. That's kind of fun. Also, I love Shade, because why wouldn't I? Like, he's an assassin. Fitz is actually being trained to be a real assassin, like a real assassin that kills people, that does morally great things, that kills people in sneaky ways, that isn't just like a fighter. Like he says, he's not really a fighter, like he can do it, but he's not, like that's not his skill set. But like the poisoning and the like political maneuvering and what's the easiest way to kill somebody and all this kind of stuff, like he's an actual assassin, which I like. Also, beyond why so many dog deaths, why so many bastards? It's like everyone's bastard. Like, I mean, it's a little much. Like, why Shade and Fitz and Galen and everybody is an illegitimate child, and like, it's a lot. Like, it's a lot. And I know that there's a lot of them even in like Game of Thrones and stuff, but like, and it's just kind of a thread and a trope that I've seen a lot of within like fantasy and stuff. It's like, okay, like why is being illegitimate or like a bastard such a big thing? Because you typically in like our world with like religion, that's the whole thing. It's like it's a child out of wedlock, so they're illegitimate, and you know, Christianity and blah blah blah. But I feel like in a world like here where they haven't really mentioned religion a ton, like they kind of mention like a little bit of it, but it doesn't seem like this huge thing. I don't really know why like illegitimate children are such like this bad thing. Like I feel like you could have made them actually like a little more legitimate. I don't know. There's a lot of bastards though, and I'm just like, why though? So like I said, with the tropes and stuff and with the plot, I kind of knew what was going to happen. I just didn't know how we were going to get there. So like I knew that Regal was going to do something. I knew that Galen was bad. I knew like all those kinds of things. I just didn't know how we were going to get around to that ending. So that was something I couldn't quite predict, but it was just like you knew kind of what was coming, so that made it quite a little bit more lackluster for me. So there are a ton of things that I definitely feel like I'm missing, and hints that were thrown in that obviously won't become apparent until later, especially since I know that this is like a giant series, but there's things that I'm like, I think I'm missing things. Like I think things are being told to me and I'm completely missing them, and I would like try to reread stuff and be like, I think there's stuff I'm missing. So this is definitely a foundational book. Obviously, it's the first book in a very, very long series of books. So there's going to be hints that I would later go back and be like, oh, this is where she mentioned something. The only thing that I picked up on was the Elderlings and them mentioning the Rainwilds, because I know there's a trilogy called the Rainwilds, like Quartet, I think it's called. And like that deals with dragons. So I know there's like a little like thing with that, and like, are Elderlings dragons? I don't know. You know, so those kinds of hints. But, and don't tell me, obviously. I've only read the first book. I have a way to go. I have a long ways to go. But, yeah, I do like that there's, like, a lot of potential out there with this, you know? Like, it's a foundational book. There's so much farther to go. And I'm really excited about that. I don't think that the Farseer trilogy is going to be my favorite trilogy. Is it anybody's favorite trilogy of all of her trilogies? I don't think so. I'm very much looking forward to the Live Ship Traders. I'm a little nervous, though, because most people say that they really hate the last book in this trilogy. I think it's Assassin's Quest. And I didn't really love this one. So it's like, ooh, and Assassin's Quest is like way longer. Hopefully I'll fall in love with Fitz a lot more by then, so it won't be as painful for me. But That's a little like sad because it's like I'm just reading this to get to the live ships and all the other stuff, and so I understand who you are when I meet you later. But yeah, that has me a little concerned. So comment down below and let me know what you thought of Assassin's Apprentice. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see all of you guys soon. Bye!